Everybody can hear me now? Okay, perfect. Okay, now we're going to have a discussion this afternoon with a team that I've been working with from the Government Blockchain Association. And we've had Gerard out here presenting, and there's Gerard in the back. And one of the things I'll say about this group is this group probably represents the furthest that anyone has come to attend the summit. So that honor goes to Armand, and he's coming to us all the way from Douala, Cameroon. And I really want to thank Armand for coming out again. He joined us for the last summit, and he's going to be doing an individual presentation as well. But this group I've had the pleasure of working with, and really what they're looking at is doing social impact in sub-Saharan Africa as a primary goal. And so I've been working with them over the past few months here about really trying to identify opportunities to put in wireless technology in sub-Saharan Africa and make it work where it's affordable, and you can use existing technologies to make it go, and that there's a way to really implement the tracking and use blockchain in this as well. So at this point, I'm going to ask Randall to kind of kick us off and talk about the technical side of the project and what we're looking at there.
Sure. Hi, everybody. So my name is Randall. Pires. I'm from Atlanta, and I've been building wireless internet infrastructure in Africa since 2009. Right. So I would go to like the most remote places, like the mouth of the Congo River in Angola, where I started, and then just basically connecting a source of internet connection, right, which is really access to information. So when you take some pretty big numbers in consideration, like Africa, we have 1.4 billion population, they have the largest population of 18 and younger, and that's just growing way faster than anybody else in the world. Like in the next 15 years, by 2035, the workforce in Africa is going to be more than the rest of the world combined. Like that's so interesting. Then by 2050, we're going to have 1 in 4 humans on Earth be African. It's virgin territory. You get to do, there's no technological incumbent interests that kind of get in the way financially or maybe a little politically. But that's different conversations to navigate. And so what we've been doing together is basically figuring out how to connect subsea cables, the satellite dishes, or TV wireless, white space, and do a distribution of the connection to internet in a way that it's covered a big portion of the population, and then also have it to where it's affordable, right? So it's like, okay, well, maybe we can cover the population for 90% of the country, but maybe only 50% of the people can afford to actually buy it, right? So then that leaves you a gap. So where we're coming across now is with the first internet connection to information, and where does blockchain come into that? Well, blockchain is another internet, or the second internet, which does a layer of value exchange. First internet, data storage, retrieval, and transference of information, and then second internet with blockchain is storage, retrieval, and transference of value, right? And so humans create value, and now we're able to connect and exchange that value across the world. Well, so what does that mean in like Africa, for example? Well, an extra 1.4 billion population, we probably have half of the world not even connected to information or the ability to share ideas or money with each other. And so this is like one of the main things I've been honored to explore and pioneer in a place like Africa.
Okay, great. And so Armand, you're right there in Douala in Cameroon, and what I'd really like to know is, how you see working with this team impacting, the development in Douala, and really, let's talk about the social impact and the opportunity that you see in Cameroon.
As a young African, So I've been spending my last 7 years trying to be a new kind of entrepreneur and new kind of African world business minded, because my main aim as an African is how to use my skills, my knowledge, my environment to let people create the value and help the global economy sharing together in a win-win way. So I've been tracking the telecom industry since 6 years because I have a network engineering background. So I decided to start my first telecom project 5 years ago. It was just a small project. It was about bringing the Wi-Fi in my small community. It's like 1 million inhabitants in the west part of Douala, my city. And quickly, I noticed, as an entrepreneur, you have sometimes hurdles. So I noticed it was really difficult to bring an impact at a small level in my city, in my environment. So I decided to step back, to take more years to understand how it works, how those telecom operators work, how they make money, how they interact with the government. So I realized the huge potential during those years of observation. And I decided at last 2 years ago to come back again. And the first thing is the telecom industry has a huge impact in our economies, huge impact. I think one of the key drivers of our economies is the telecommunications. If you look at our GDP, after natural resources, you have the telecom industry. So it's about billions in local currency, even in dollars. So the way the telecom industry works in most of the African countries, it's like a private company coming in a country, generally in consortium. They like many countries at the same time. Most of the time, apart from MTN, the global players in the continent, you have company coming from Asia, from Europe most of the time. And they don't really care about the social economic development where they interact. So they don't care about local entrepreneurship. They don't care about even a shared economy. So they just surround to deploy the smallest infrastructure to reach their goals, their capital goals or their market share goals. So after they reach their market goals, they don't care about anything else. So this is how they work now. So absolutely, I can say no real social impact that can be sustainable. So this is something I noticed. And the second thing is the relation with the government itself, the government and the compliance. When I left Cameroon 3 weeks ago, the regulation authority charged the 3 main telecom players $3.5 million penalties for a default in identifying their customers. So I assisted a lot of presentation here about identity management on the blockchain. So I said, they don't care about local entrepreneurship, local problems, but they lose money too. Because the way they register their customer now is an obsolete way. So that's why they keep getting in trouble for complaints purposes. And so based on all those observations, I designed the mission and the fundamental vision of UBTS, Universal Broadband and Technology Services. And today we have 2 companies, the parent company incorporated here in Atlanta, the Georgia State, and the Cameroon branch of the company. I will tell you a small story on how I finally incorporated our first branch in Cameroon. I think it was an inverse process, because normally I should start in my country, but I started overseas. Why? Because, we just ended the presentation of the other room. Identify your environment. This is the first key. Actually, the way the economy operates, you have a lot of China influence in Africa. You have a lot of European influence in Africa, and those past influence for those big players from essentially Europe and Asia has shaped the way business is being done in the continent. So the best strategy now to bring big projects around in Africa is sometimes to do the inverse way, but keeping the originality of the idea. And the originality of the idea should be mapped to what people face as problem on a daily basis. So I had a chance to come from the ground. So I grew up in very difficult places and environments. So I master what my people feel most of the time in Africa. So we designed the mission and vision. I had an outstanding team. And we designed the proposal from the Cameroon government. So the proposition value on what we plan to bring. And I'm really happy we got the approval by the Cameroonian government on our proposal. When I left the country, we got the approval. And at the time I'm speaking, it's just a matter of days to have the operating license to operate as a telecommunication operator. So the idea I had 6 years ago, today is great. So after the license, the next step is to go over to do those financial steps and to deploy the infrastructure. And as a blockchain enthusiast since the beginning, as I have a information system background, so I designed data centers, so the consensus algorithm, we have been using it since a long time ago on legacy database like SQL, how to replicate or whatever. So I feel a huge potential of the blockchain combined with the telecom industry. And I think the blockchain will be totally 100% disruptive to this industry. In the compliance side, in the processing side, in the way to enable a new way of thinking, a shared economy inside the telecom industry. So I'm really confident about what the blockchain is about to bring to that industry.
Perfect. And I just want to kind of reflect on a couple of things. So we just had Paul Thanos come out from Department of Commerce, talking about how we can do international trade. And, what you're talking about is really having the United States get out there and be a leader in, developing sub-Saharan Africa as a partner.
Exactly.
Versus, let's say that we have China or another partner come in and do that development. So it's really...
Yeah, exactly. Actually, China has a 20 years presence in Africa now.
And $10 to $1.
Yes.
More than next investor, which is like the United States. So for every dollar that the United States puts in, China's been putting in 10 times that amount for the last 20 years.
Yeah, and this is a true story. And when you look at the impact of the telecommunication industry of the social development, in terms of investment, in terms of mentoring programs, in terms of, it's almost nothing. So partners like China don't really care about a real social economic development where they are operating in Africa. And I think it's not fair. We need to think about working with partners who really care about things like the knowledge transfer. China don't care about knowledge transfer. They just come in and also the privacy. We have a big issue now because one of the biggest infrastructure use Chinese equipment, mostly Huawei. And inside those equipment, you have some chips to spy the data and send them back to China. So we have a couple of issues going on with the telecom industry involving Chinese, and this is happening.
Okay. And I think that's a great opportunity for U.S. companies to get there and, help with developing the infrastructure. And so I'm going to take and ask Jim a couple of questions here. So just kind of reflecting on that, Jim, we heard from Franny about how telecoms in Colorado are settling, back-end transactions using the blockchain. And I know you're an expert in the telecom industry, so how do you feel about, being able to say, let's look at what Colorado's doing for this, and then being able to do more of a transfer of a blockchain solution down to Douala or, into Cameroon?
Yep. So, I've together over the years with $5. And I also see companies that are born in the cloud that have been, started as a cloud company, and I think they're really disrupting the market. SD-WAN is a disruptive technology that I see that is a $20 billion, $15 to $20 billion industry by next year. And I think we can take these concepts and use them as shortcuts to help folks like Armand, and that's kind of our mission, is to be able to reach out and take our knowledge as kind of a think tank, and then incorporate that knowledge to do social good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, social impact is one of the tenets of the summit, and it's great, to be able to work with Armand and his team here to really have that impact in sub-Saharan Africa. And one of the things that also is interesting from a blockchain perspective is I work with the Hyperledger Telecom group and did a presentation around settling call detail records using the blockchain. And so, there's definitely opportunities to look at the wireless side of settlement, when someone goes out of network and uses someone else's network to really take that settlement, and rather than just say, okay, we're going to wait a long time, those cycles could be very extended, that you'll be able to, have almost instant settlement between carriers.
And specifically in telecommunications, I think a challenge that is implementing and following through with service level agreements. That's one, for example. Provisioning could be another. But there's also all kinds of things that could be cleaned up, I think, with the blockchain technology.
And then Randall, what are your thoughts around some of the ways that we can, really leverage this beyond Cameroon in sub-Saharan Africa as well?
Yes, I'd like to leave a few different ideas with everybody here, some different terms, right? So the difference between an extraction economy versus a circular economy. So when you have an extraction economy, you basically have humans creating value. Pick your city, right? But then you have an entity, an organization, that is extracting that value out of your local, geopolitical, physical environment, and it's going somewhere else, right? Just think about Amazon purchases. How much of the value that you've created, that of your people that have created, but then does that value go back into your local city, right? Does that go back into the local restaurants, the local jobs, the local economy? So that is one of the bigger ideas of extraction economy versus circular. Circular is more kind of think about like a terrarium. You have a closed loop system, and it evaporates, and condenses, and has little plants and animals, but it's all in a closed loop system. So what we're coming across now is basically a battle of ideas of economies, and where one of the more interesting things with like telecom is it's an infrastructure battle. To the space, to the bottom of the ocean with fiber connections, like Google alone has over 13 subsea fiber cables, and they're building a lot more connecting continents. And it is their own private infrastructure. They don't have to share with anybody else. They don't have to answer to anybody else. And they have 100% control over that information data flow and whatever they want to do with that. Now, in some years, we're going to have that same data in the air. Satellites, drones, lower Earth orbit, and so now we're going to have from space to the sea pretty much coverage of internet all around the world. And then the really big question is who owns that information, who owns the access to it, and how can they censor behavior? How can they censor and modify humans' behavior online? Would be some of the questions I would like you guys to think about. And with blockchain technology, right? Who owns the internet? Right? Like in here, does anybody know what the OSI model is? Raise your hand. Yes. All right. Cool. So now we're coming across another infrastructure framework for this like value exchange, right? And then that's the big question: is centralized versus decentralized. And with blockchain in general, it's human speed and paper speed versus computer speed and speed of light, right? So do you trust humans more, or do you trust math more? Or do you trust computers more? Right? And that gets into another philosophical, ideological conversation with AI, but it's just some ideas to think
Yeah,
about.
I have an announcement. The official announcement I have to give here is Universal Broadband and Technology Services I co-founded plan to become the fully 100% blockchain-enabled telecommunication operator worldwide. At the time I'm speaking, as I said, we're just waiting for the license in our first country, but we have a strategy to extend in 10 more countries by the end of 2020. We're ready. We have connection with decision makers, we have local board ready, and we will do it. So, thank you.
Great job. And kind of will touch on that too. You know, after the summit's over, we're going to send out the information that Paul asked us about for engaging with the U.S. Department of Commerce. So my question to you, Armand, is because you know you're actively engaged with the government of Cameroon. So is there any engagement that you can offer to the summit attendees to being able to reach out to Cameroon and get engaged in projects that may exist in the country?
Yeah, definitely. I have the chance, as young as I am, to be the president of two worldwide organizations in Africa. The first is the Government Blockchain Association. Shout out to Gerard Dashi. Shout out to Gerard Dashi, the vice president. So I'm the leader for GBA in Africa. I had a chance to visit at least 22 countries, not only in Cameroon, but in more than half of African countries and more. We can get connection with decision makers at a very high level. We can get introduction. We can help understand what is happening, because the key of Africa is to understand at the ground level. No worldwide organization, IMF, World Bank, whatever, knows exactly how Africa operates around the streets. None of them. So you need people who master how it works on the ground on a daily basis. So Cameroon, you are welcome anytime. And not only Cameroon, in many other countries we can facilitate introduction.
Yeah, so that brings up a good point. So we talked about Cameroon already. So what other countries you think are really rich opportunities for American companies to come down with blockchain technology and intersect and do things maybe around identity, maybe around telecom in sub-Saharan Africa? So what would you say is the kind of the choices that you see from being right there?
Yeah, Tanzania today, you know, the president of Tanzania himself discovered a large network of ghost workers. We are talking about more than 100,000 of ghost workers inside the government. They get salaries. And the first technology he was open to hear about was the blockchain.
Right.
The president of Tanzania himself.
Yeah.
And Tanzania, I think, is like 35 million of inhabitants. So you have Rwanda, President Kagame is really open to all kinds of technology. He just launched 2 satellites. And now Cisco is there, Microsoft is there. You have Ivory Coast, you have Nigeria, you have Kenya, you have Ethiopia, you have Egypt. Today, you know, I will be talking about at last the Africa Commerce Trade, which has been signed 2 months ago. So now we have the biggest trade convention in the world, because Africa is 54 countries. So now we have the biggest trade convention in the world. So it's the best way to go and do business now.
Perfect. Okay, go ahead, Randall.
I'll just make a couple notes. If you're doing business in Africa, they really like to see, touch, and feel. So emails and phone calls won't do you as much as actually just showing up, right, and meeting people. It's a different way of doing business over there. Just something to keep in mind.
Okay, everyone, well, I think we're going to wrap up this panel, but if you have any questions about doing business in Africa, definitely look up Armand, and let's move on to the next session.